something unsettling is happening across America. Entire neighborhoods are fading before our eyes. Streets once alive with children playing and families laughing now sit in eerie silence. Lawns are overgrown, windows are boarded, and homes that once symbolized security now stand empty, swallowed by neglect. The housing market isn't cooling down, it's collapsing. Builders have stopped building, buyers have stopped buying, and prices are falling faster than anyone dares to admit. Across the country, families are fleeing cities that once promised everything. Jobs are disappearing, local economies are cracking under pressure, and the American dream is burning away one foreclosure at a time. This isn't just another market correction, it's something far more devastating. A financial storm so powerful that it's changing the meaning of home itself. Welcome to Discover the Nation, where we reveal the truth behind America's housing collapse and the places standing on the edge of economic ruin.
Number 10. Washington. Washington's housing market isn't cooling, it's rotting from the core. For years, the evergreen state lived off a tech-fueled high. Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, all built their wealth on Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing's success. But when tech jobs disappeared and remote work reversed course, that bubble popped. The median home price across King County still hovers above $800,000, but buyers are gone. Inventory has surged 21% in a single year, and sales have fallen to their lowest levels since 2011. For the average Seattle homeowner, a monthly mortgage now tops $4,800, nearly double what it was just 3 years ago. Property taxes have jumped 14%, and maintenance costs are up nearly 20%. Families who once thrived in six-figure tech jobs are quietly defaulting. Nearly 1 in 5 sellers have slashed prices, desperate to lure anyone through the door. Washington's economy leans dangerously on a handful of giants. Boeing's supply chain is slowing. Amazon's hiring freeze continues. Startups are cutting jobs across the board. The once booming tech corridor has become a corridor of layoffs and uncertainty. Homelessness is climbing, crime is rising, and the cracks in Seattle's shiny skyline are beginning to show. Spokane saw home prices fall over 3% in a single quarter. In Yakima, listings have doubled, but buyers are nowhere to be found. What happens when a tech economy stops growing? The answer is visible on every empty street. Washington's housing boom wasn't built on stability, it was built on momentum, and momentum always fades. When the next national recession hits, the evergreen state's fall won't be gentle. It'll be a free fall straight into the abyss.
Number 9. Nevada. Nevada's growth was always a gamble, and now the house is losing. For years, Las Vegas and Reno glimmered as symbols of opportunity. Towering cranes, new casinos, endless subdivisions. The dream looked unstoppable. But beneath the lights and slogans, it was always built on speculation. In 2025, that illusion is collapsing. The median home price across Nevada sits near $455,000, yet sales have plunged 18%, while listings have soared 23%. More than 15,000 homes now sit idle, most in the once booming suburbs of Henderson and North Las Vegas. Mortgage rates near 7% have pushed monthly payments beyond $3,600, while insurance premiums in Clark County have spiked 22% in a single year. Casino layoffs, dwindling tourism, and shrinking convention traffic are cutting deep into Nevada's economy, an economy that depends almost entirely on people spending money they no longer have. When visitors vanish, tips dry up. When tips disappear, mortgages go unpaid. Investors who once treated Vegas real estate like a roulette wheel are now cashing out and leaving town. Nearly a quarter of all sellers have cut prices, and homes are staying on the market twice as long as last year. Even new construction, once the pride of Nevada's comeback, is collapsing under its own weight. Builders are dangling $30,000 incentives just to move unsold units. Water restrictions in southern Nevada have brought new developments to a halt. Vegas may still glow at night, but behind the neon, foreclosure notices are stacking up like poker chips. The boomtown fantasy is ending, and there's no jackpot big enough to bring it back.
Number 8. Utah. Utah's decade-long housing miracle is cracking under pressure. For years, the Silicon Slopes stood as the shining example of innovation and prosperity. Tech firms in Lehigh, Draper, and Provo drove home prices through the roof, a 70% jump since 2019. But now, that rocket ride has turned into a nosedive. Mortgage rates above 6.5% have driven buyers away. Home sales are down 19% year over year. Inventory is up 28%, flooding the market with homes that no one can afford. The average house in Salt Lake City now sits on the market for more than 70 days, compared to less than 30 during the pandemic boom. Builders have slammed the brakes. Price cuts are spreading like wildfire across the Wasatch Front. Nearly 30% of listings have already reduced asking prices, a clear sign of panic. Affordability is the breaking point. Utah's household incomes simply can't keep pace. Mortgage payments now eat up more than 40% of family income. Utility bills are climbing, maintenance costs are rising, and the math no longer adds up. Even the environment is turning against Utah's growth story. Droughts, shrinking reservoirs, and worsening air quality are driving people out. The same population surge that once fueled the state's boom is now reversing. When tech sneezes, Utah catches a fever. With layoffs rippling through companies like Adobe, eBay, and countless startups, demand is drying up. Investors who once called Utah the next Silicon Valley are now calling moving trucks instead. Utah's housing market once symbolized stability and innovation. In 2025, it symbolizes overconfidence and the heavy price that comes with it.
Number 7, Louisiana. Louisiana's housing market isn't just collapsing, it's drowning, both figuratively and literally. This is a state under siege from every direction. Hurricanes, inflation, disappearing insurers, and an economy that can't stay afloat. In 2025, the median home price in Louisiana sits around $265,000. But that number hides the truth. The real cost of living here has skyrocketed. Insurance premiums have jumped more than 50% in 2 years. Some homeowners now pay over $6,000 a year for bare minimum coverage, if they can even find a company willing to insure them. Thousands have already given up and walked away. In New Orleans and Lake Charles, listings have surged 31%, while sales have fallen off a cliff. Homes linger for nearly 3 months on the market, and nearly 30% of sellers have slashed asking prices just to spark interest. The deeper rot lies in the economy. Louisiana still leans heavily on oil, gas, and port activity, industries battered by automation, energy volatility, and climate risk. Baton Rouge has lost over 10,000 residents in just 3 years. Developers have halted mid-construction, unable to bear rising material costs or worsening flood risks. And the weather? It never stops coming. Heat, humidity, mold, and hurricanes are chewing through the state's aging housing stock, driving maintenance costs up 19% in a single year. Even federal disaster aid can't keep pace with the destruction. As sea levels rise and storms intensify, entire neighborhoods across Terrebonne and Plaquemines Parish are slowly slipping beneath the tide. Louisiana once embodied resilience, a place that always rebuilt no matter how many times it was hit. But 2025 is different. The storms aren't just meteorological anymore, they're financial, emotional, existential. When the housing crash lands in full, Louisiana won't just lose property value, it'll lose entire zip codes to the Gulf.
Number 6, Arizona. For years, Arizona's housing boom seemed unstoppable. A desert miracle built on sunshine and migration. Phoenix, Tucson, and Scottsdale were magnets for Californians chasing lower prices and bigger homes. But by 2025, the dream has evaporated under the unforgiving desert sun. The median home price across the state now sits at roughly $435,000, but affordability has collapsed. Mortgage payments are soaring past $3,200 a month. Utility bills have exploded, with summer electricity costs exceeding $400 monthly, while water bills climb as reservoirs run dry. Once seen as America's affordable oasis, Arizona is now one of the nation's most expensive deserts. Inventory has jumped 25% year over year, and more than a quarter of all listings have already cut prices. Insurance companies, spooked by wildfire risk and flash floods, are fleeing the market, leaving thousands without coverage. In Maricopa County alone, 18,000 homes sit unsold, double the inventory from last summer. The climate is pushing people away. Arizona now experiences 35 days a year above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, a record high. The migration that once fueled its growth is reversing. Cities like Buckeye and Goodyear, once boom towns, now look like construction graveyards. Streets half-built, neighborhoods half-occupied. The state's economy is slowing fast. Construction, which once powered Arizona's growth, is collapsing under rising material costs and falling demand. The retirees and remote workers who once saved the state's market are now flooding it with listings as they flee unbearable heat and unlivable bills. Arizona's promise was always built on the idea of escape. Escape from California prices, from cold winters, from stress. But now, it's the escape itself that people are seeking. When the next recession hits, the desert won't just cool down. It'll crack wide open.
Number 5, Colorado. For years, Colorado seemed untouchable. With mountain views, remote jobs, and outdoor luxury, the Centennial State was the darling of the post-pandemic housing boom. But by 2025, gravity is reclaiming what hype built. The median home price has hit $580,000. Mortgage payments have soared to nearly $4,000 a month, up 70% since 2020. Families that once moved to Denver for opportunity are now moving out for affordability. Housing inventory is up 30% year over year. High-end listings dominate the market, but luxury buyers have vanished. In Aspen and Vail, mansions worth millions sit empty, buried in snow, waiting for buyers that never come. Construction of new luxury homes has dropped nearly 40% since 2023, and rental vacancies have surged to levels not seen since the Great Recession. The economy beneath it all is cracking too. Tourism, worth over $14 billion annually, is faltering as wildfires, droughts, and unpredictable snowfall choke visitor numbers. Agricultural regions face shrinking water supplies and soaring costs. Even smaller cities, once seen as affordable, Pueblo, Grand Junction, are struggling with job losses, homelessness, and rising property taxes. Maintenance costs are up 17%, utilities up 11%, and property taxes have hit all-time highs. Colorado once sold itself as a dream, a perfect blend of nature, work, and freedom. But for many, that dream is turning into a financial avalanche. The market here won't fall slowly. When it collapses, it will fall hard, fast, and completely. The same mountains that drew people in now stand as silent witnesses to a state on the edge of its own cliff.
Number 4, Hawaii. Hawaii, paradise to tourists, purgatory to homeowners. By 2025, the islands have become one of the most unaffordable housing markets in the world. The median home price has soared to $875,000, while the average household income barely scrapes $88,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of 10-to-1, a recipe for collapse. Tourism, the lifeblood of Hawaii's economy, is faltering under inflation and global slowdown. Visitor numbers are down 14% year over year. Short-term rentals that once brought in quick profits now sit empty for weeks. Insurance rates have exploded, rising 35% in 2 years as sea levels climb and extreme weather intensifies. On Maui and Oahu, luxury condos that sparked bidding wars during the boom now linger unsold for 4 months or more. Home values are already down 3.5% since January 2025. Even renters are suffocating. Honolulu's average rent has climbed above $2,600, while basic living costs, groceries, gas, utilities, add another $1,200 a month. The island's isolation drives prices for everything sky high. Maintenance costs are up 19%, and insurance premiums near the coast have passed $6,000 annually. Add in decaying infrastructure, aging homes, and wildfire risk, and paradise starts to look like pressure. Locals are leaving in record numbers. Teachers, nurses, service workers, the backbone of Hawaii, are heading to the mainland, replaced by absentee investors whose multi-million-dollar properties sit dark at night. The American dream ends where the Pacific begins. Because in Hawaii, beauty remains, but ownership is slipping away. Paradise has never felt so out of reach.
Number 3. California. California's housing empire is collapsing beneath its own weight. For decades, the Golden State represented everything the American dream promised: wealth, opportunity, sunshine, and status. But in 2025, that golden glow has dimmed into a harsh reality of inequality and exhaustion. The median home price sits at a staggering $760,000, while the average household income barely reaches $91,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of more than 8-to-1, one of the most unaffordable gaps in U.S. history. The math simply doesn't work anymore. Mortgage rates above 6.5% have pushed the average monthly payment beyond $5,200. Even renters aren't escaping the pain. Los Angeles now averages $2,900 a month, driving tens of thousands into debt, roommates, or relocation. California's housing bubble isn't just popping, it's deflating across every fault line. Home values have fallen by more than $16 billion in a single year, with steep declines in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Over 30% of listings have seen price cuts, and homes now sit on the market for nearly 80 days, the longest stretch since the aftermath of the 2008 crash. And the collapse isn't just financial, it's social. Crime and homelessness are surging. Wildfires and droughts are destroying property faster than insurers can cover them. Major insurers have withdrawn from entire counties, leaving homeowners with no way to protect their investments. At the same time, California's corporate exodus continues. Tesla, Oracle, Chevron, and dozens of tech firms have left for cheaper states. The state's population has declined by over 400,000 people in 3 years, reversing decades of growth. The government keeps promising affordable housing reform, but bureaucracy, regulation, and costs have buried those efforts in red tape. California built a housing market designed for millionaires, and now it's cracking under the pressure of reality. The Golden State once glimmered with limitless promise, but as prices fall and residents flee, it's becoming clear the gold is gone. What remains is a cautionary tale that no matter how bright the dream, it can still burn out under its own heat.
Number 2. Texas. Texas was once the land of opportunity, low taxes, affordable homes, booming jobs, and wide-open possibilities. But in 2025, that promise is beginning to crumble beneath the same pressure that built it. The median home price across Texas has surged to $360,000, but the real story lies in everything that's risen alongside it. Property taxes, insurance rates, utilities, and maintenance costs have turned affordability into a myth. Major metro areas, Austin, Dallas, Houston, are now ground zero for the correction. During the pandemic boom, prices shot up nearly 60%, driven by mass migration and investor speculation. But that rush is over. Austin's home prices have fallen 8% in just a year, while inventory has jumped 26%. In Dallas County, property taxes are up 13%, and insurance premiums across the state have soared nearly 40%. Homeowners are suffocating under rising costs. Mortgage rates hovering near 7% have pushed average monthly payments past $3,400. Families who once moved to Texas for savings are now spending more just to survive. The state's once mighty energy sector is trembling under the weight of global price swings and renewable competition. Construction jobs, the backbone of Texas's growth, are
are slowing as material costs surge and projects stall. Even the weather is turning hostile. The record-breaking summer heat, with temperatures over 100 degrees for weeks, is pushing utility bills above $400 a month. Climate disasters are forcing insurers to pull out, leaving entire communities exposed. Texas built its economy on infinite growth, but growth has limits. As affordability vanishes and migration slows, the state's foundation is cracking. Analysts predict home values could drop 10 to 15% through 2026 if trends continue. The Lone Star State still shines, but its light flickers beneath the strain of overbuilding, overpricing, and overconfidence. Everything may be bigger in Texas, but in 2025, that includes the crash.
Number 1. Florida. Florida's illusion of paradise is collapsing faster than its coastline erodes. For years, it was the crown jewel of post-pandemic migration, the ultimate escape, where sunny skies and zero income tax promised prosperity. But beneath the palm trees, a financial hurricane is tearing through the Sunshine State. The median home price sits around $410,000, but the true cost of living here has exploded beyond comprehension. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed more than 300% since 2020. Major insurers like Farmers and AAA have abandoned the state entirely, leaving millions scrambling for coverage. Some homeowners now pay more than $8,000 a year just to insure their homes. Add in rising property taxes and utilities, and the typical Florida family faces monthly housing costs over $4,000, twice the national average. And yet the storm goes beyond numbers. The climate crisis is rewriting Florida's map. Record flooding, storm surges, and saltwater intrusion are making once desirable neighborhoods unlivable. Coastal erosion is swallowing billions in property value, while hurricane recovery costs have left towns buried in debt. In 2025 alone, Florida's housing market has lost an estimated $10 billion in value. Inventory has surged 31%, while 1 in 4 listings shows a price cut. Homes now linger on the market for 72 days on average, double last year's pace. The migration that once drove Florida's boom is reversing. Retirees, remote workers, and families are leaving just as fast as they came, seeking stability in inland states like Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas. Meanwhile, tourism, Florida's bloodline, is faltering. Rising insurance costs are crippling hotels and small businesses. Infrastructure damage from repeated storms is making recovery slower every year. The truth is simple and brutal. Florida's paradise has become a financial trap. For many, the dream of living by the water now means drowning in debt. The beaches remain beautiful, the sunsets are still golden, but the dream behind them, that endless Florida promise, is sinking beneath the waves.
Across the United States, the cracks in the foundation are growing wider. From Washington's empty tech corridors to Florida's flooded streets, the housing collapse of 2025 isn't just about markets, it's about people, families forced to start over, communities fading into silence. The American dream isn't dying overnight, it's eroding, one payment, one relocation, one broken promise at a time. But understanding this moment means facing it together. Because behind every statistic is a family, a dream, a story. And here on Discover the Nation, we tell those stories, the real ones shaping America's future. So if you care about where our cities are heading, if you believe truth should be cinematic, powerful, and unfiltered, subscribe to Discover the Nation and join us as we uncover what's next for the places we call home. The collapse is already happening. The only question is, who will still be standing when the dust settles?